And I do want to move on now. Yesterday we had an entire track dedicated to DITA. So I'm going to play devil's advocate now, and I'm going to ask the question, DITA, passing phase or the future of our community? Mike, I think you said you'd talk on this.
Okay, DITA, is it a passing phase? No. Is it the future of our community? No. So there, I'll say no to everything. If we had asked the same question 10 years ago, it would have been DocBook, passing phase, or the future of our community. And the result is, it's been a great technology for the right use. And DITA will be the same thing. It's not going away. It's going to be with us for a long, long time. But whether or not it's appropriate for a particular team depends on their needs. The closer your needs are to what IBM's needs were when they invented it, the better off you'll be using it. The further your needs are from what IBM's needs were, then it may be more trouble than it's worth, but it's definitely not going away.
Anyone else like to chip in on that? Otherwise we'll move on. One of the things everyone at this conference, one of the most popular topics or the thing a lot of you said that you were interested in was content management. Remember that? It was one of the tallest bars. So I wanted to ask the panel, what does content management mean to you? And is it something that we should really be involved in as user assistance professionals? Martin?
Yes, I think as user assistant professionals should be involved in content management. I think effective content management is all around creating high quality, high value documentation. And I think one of the key, well, actually a couple of key features that enable high quality or high value documentation is frameworks that allow for automatic structuring and organization of content. I think there's going to be more and more content out there, and if you can't sort through that content or organize it well, then it's going to be very difficult to find what you want. So I think you need to manage that content very well. I think also you need effective curation tools that allow the content manager, if you want to call him that, to be able to see which documents are being used, which documents are getting old, and which documents are. I think you need community scoring on your documentation, so you can see which documents are highly rated within your community, and then you can make sure that you're curating those documents properly to make sure they're available.
Right. Tim, what does content management mean to you? Yeah.
Okay, well, the question is, what is content management at all? Because a Word document is content management. But I think what we're talking about something that's a little bit more, because we're talking about single sourcing, and up to now single sourcing has been pretty passive and pretty static. And when we're looking to the future, I think what we're talking about when we say content management is moving to active content management, among other, or an active single sourcing. So instead of having your source on your computer at home, you start having your source on your website, on your server, and you have access to it from multiple places. And you want to basically do three things with that. You want to simplify the process of presenting your content. You want to aggregate content from a lot of different sources. And you want to coordinate the entire process. And a good content management system is going to let you do that. And it's also going to hide the problems of developing for the web from you. I mean, anybody who's done any web development knows that browsers are currently not a very good platform for application development, because you spend about 20% of your time developing the application, and the rest of the time is making it work in all browsers, particularly Internet Explorer. And another thing that may become interesting in the content management space is combination with mobile devices. I don't think help for applications on mobile devices is going to be very interesting, because a mobile application that needs help is doomed to failure. But mobile help help on devices that people can carry around with them and get help. For instance, an engineer on the factory floor. At the moment, most machines have an embedded screen, and you have to get the help on the screen. It would be very, very interesting for an engineer to have a 7-inch tablet he can carry around the entire factory, where he has access to all the documentation of all the machines in that little thing, and it's always up to date because it's wirelessly connected to the help system. That would another big, I think there's a big future of that in content management.
Thank you. Well, let's probe. Another of the topics I wanted to ask you about was the challenges and opportunities of mobile applications. So, Ankur, Mike, either of you like to add to what's just been said on content management and mobile?
I think these are great points. So not much to add there, but I think there are great things happening mobile from that perspective. We see again a lot of people who want to have access to the right information through the right medium. And then if that means they want to be able to access this information through that mobile device, now it could be for our existing products, could be the Windows products for which they want to be able to access information on mobile, but it could also be help for mobile apps. I'm not sure if it is going to be a scenario where we say there is no help at all that's going to exist for mobile apps. Perhaps there will be documentation. Maybe we need to optimize their content to make sure that it is optimized for mobile devices, and that means it has to be to the point, crisp, or represented in a different manner. That could be a different approach. But I think if we are working on content that's going to be available on the mobile apps or devices, I think it needs to be optimized to make sure that the user interest and time is taken into account while developing such things.
Mike, anything to add?
Sure, and I'll kind of split the difference between both of you. I would agree that as of today, doing help for online apps, A, isn't necessary, and B, is highly troublesome because most devices don't multitask. And most users would be quite upset if they're in their mobile application, they click help and the help comes up, they close the help and the application's gone. So we're not quite there yet. But at the same time, I can remember the same thing being said back in the Windows 3.0 days of, well, if the app's written correctly, it doesn't need documentation. Here we are, many years later, with apps that are so complex and powerful, we couldn't use them without documentation. And mobile devices will get there as well. The only other thing I would caution is, despite what you see in a lot of tech magazines and things, smartphones are in their infancy. This is still a bit of the crazy years. So not everything is going to work the same way on every device. So just be aware that if you are going to do mobile publishing, it does require some testing. As Ankur said, it requires optimization of the content. You can't take the same content you dump on a big computer screen and put it on that small device. So the tools are making it a lot easier, but it does require some optimization and some testing, and it's just going to get better and better and better. Those of you who did, web documentation 10 years ago versus doing it today, it's going to be the same type of progress.
Okay. I want to move on. Someone earlier referred back to one of the first conferences run by Digitext. I remember the first conference was in 1997, and at that conference, almost every presentation was relating to Microsoft help. The big new thing was Microsoft HTML help. And everyone looked at what Microsoft were doing, and that was essentially the help format we all used. So my question now is, how relevant is what Microsoft are doing? Dennis, how important is Microsoft's role in shaping the design of help and the new help formats?
Nowadays, I see two trends. First, what we are talking about today, that many applications go online or became cross-platform. They are operated on the web, on mobile devices, and so we have to publish our documentation for our products online. And online is not a place where Microsoft is a definite leader. So this may be a place where it can somehow lose its position like a leader in help system design. On the other hand, Microsoft has the greatest developer network, MSDN, and it has great products like Visual Studio. It supports developers, and Windows platform is a leader for desktop PCs. So help format for desktop application will depend upon Microsoft technologies for long years, I think, because it's the easiest way for developers to integrate help into their desktop applications. There are no other solutions. So these are two trends. First, online may be a place for wars or for game for leadership, and the desktop platform will rest under Microsoft protection. Here's my thoughts.
Thank you.
One small comment.
Go ahead.
One thing that occurred to me over the last few days, and it's something very brief on Microsoft, is we often, as help assistants people, we sometimes feel frustrated with Microsoft and how slowly the developments are. But the fact is, Windows is still the only major operating system that has a help system. Apple does not have one. It has something called Apple Help, but you can't call that a help system. Linux has nothing. Unix has nothing. You can't call ManPages a help system. Windows is the only operating system with a rich help system.